Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel, Wrestling with Disney. My name is Nina, and today I am reviewing the book Vampire Weekend by Mike Chen. I received this book as a NetGalley digital ARC, and it is a ride. So Mike Chen, very interesting. I read at the end of the book, what do you call that? You know, in the acknowledgments, he was talking about how he wrote this at the same time that he wrote the Star Wars book Brotherhood. If you've been to this channel before, or maybe you can see behind me, I am a big fan of Star Wars books. I haven't read Brotherhood yet, but it is very high regarded in the Star Wars book groups I follow and whatnot. So I thought that was really cool, and nothing gave away to me. Sometimes when I'm reading Star Wars writers' other books, I can, like, you know, you'd be like, yeah, I get that. This, you know, it doesn't give it away. You know, there was nothing in it that made me think, yep, Star Wars guy. So let me tell you about Vampire Weekend. It tells the story of Louise, who is a vampire. This is a vampire story surrounded by punk rock, and it is contemporary. And by that I mean, let's say you don't really like vampire books, okay? This is not Interview with the Vampire. This is a contemporary novel. If you had to think realistically, how would vampires live today? This is it. There are apps, they don't murder people, and almost every other chapter, Louise is opening with debunking a vampire myth, though they do respond to garlic. So we meet Louise, and we learn very quickly that she is an avid punk rock fan, and that she was growing up in the 70s. It is now modern day, so she is older than she appears. She is older than on the day she turned. We learn that she does not know, she knows the person who turned her what they look like, but she doesn't know why, and had to kind of learn the vampire world on her own. So she has a job at night transporting blood in a hospital, and that's how she gets her stash. And something kind of happens that the blood is not going to be as readily available, or the vampire community rather is trying to make blood accessible to everybody, so people don't have to work their jobs and their lives around trying to eat, trying to get blood in a safer way that doesn't harm people, and instead you can kind of order it like on an app. So that's one thing that's happening. And at the same time, Louise, she lives in a home that her aunt used to live in. Her aunt is no longer alive. And she gets a visitor from somebody who was trying to see if any relatives in the area remained, because they have a sick daughter. So it is an older man. His daughter is in the hospital battling cancer, and he is raising her teenage son while she's getting treatment. So he was looking for family for help, and Louise kind of ends up getting involved with them. And Ian has an interest in music and learning the guitar, so that's their connection. And he kind of ends up figuring out that Louise is a vampire. But throughout this book, there are foreshadows to Louise having a friend who found out she was a vampire, and that not ending well. The way that was initially introduced and done, I honestly thought I was reading book 2. I thought, okay, I missed whatever happened with her friend Marshall. I didn't think, oh good, I'm gonna read and find out what happened. I thought I missed it. So that kind of took me out of the story, because I kept thinking I was behind and missing things. But this is in fact not a book 2. So in the end, you do get more about it, but I just wasn't jiving with how that happened personally for my reading style, or how I was understanding everything. At the same time, you learn about Louise's past. You learn that her parents were very, very strict. It reminded me a lot of Lane and in Gilmore Girls, and how strict her mother was about her liking music and playing music. What happens to Louise is that her brother reveals her hidden stash of music, and then Louise is kicked out of the home, lives with her aunt, eventually becomes a vampire. And this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, you know, I'll wave my hands like this when I'm done. Okay, because I'm not good at timestamps. Spoiler part now. She finds out that the man who has come with his grandson, Ian, is her brother. And what was odd to me is that even in the end where where she revealed that she's his sister who hasn't aged, she never says like, you ratted me out and I became a vampire. Like, they just never talk about it. So I thought that was like kind of a missed opportunity. So let me wave my hands down. I think this book would be really great for somebody who, us booktubers, are really into seasonal reads. So maybe you want some Halloween reads next year, but you don't want to read actual Halloween-y stuff. You don't want, like, you know, intense vampire stuff. This is perfect because it's very contemporary. So in this book, you're gonna get kind of generational family drama. You're gonna get vampires living in a contemporary world and how they would make that work with their restrictions. You're gonna get a ton of punk rock references, and you're gonna get how they take the vampire world to adapt it into modern day tools like phone apps and tracking devices and things like that. So if you think that sounds like a fun time for you, then you're going to want to check out Vampire Weekend by Mike Chen. Thank you for checking out my review here today, and I will see you on the next video here on Wrestling with Books, or you can check out my second channel over at Wrestling with Disney. Thanks for being here, guys.